Uh, it's a beautiful Saturday morning. We always excited about doing our Saturday morning Zooms. Couple of weeks we've been doing live broadcasts from some of our events, and uh, and we'd hate to I guess compete with those. So we've been not doing our normal what we call our normal Saturday morning power hour, if you want to call it that. But we've had so many events going on, and I see that coming as the future. We're going to see more and more events coming on. I think what's interesting, and I haven't said this in a while, I have been doing this Saturday morning call for a little over 2 years, 3 years, I guess now. And it was just a handful. It was just a handful. And it would just be a few people from our areas. And now we have literally 4 countries represented. I don't know how many states represented. I lose count at this point. I can't keep up. But obviously, the growth of our company, and it's an exciting time. And Todd and I are always, we really work hard trying to figure out, and we talk with Brent and Aaron, different ones, trying to figure out what can we do to give you the right information that'll help you build your business to the next level. And I'm often asked, what's my secret? And, I don't know that there's really a secret. That's the funny part is this is not, you can call it a secret if you want, but there's really not a secret to building a business here. There's just work and it takes time. And if you're building a foundational business, those are the things you'll have to do. But Todd and I talked yesterday. I get a lot of people calling me saying, you guys aren't talking enough. You're not saying enough things. And we really want to hear from people. So Todd, then yesterday I actually had some guest options, and he said, you know what, maybe let's just talk about, and we decided to talk about our journey here. And I'm going to, before we start, Todd, and before I turn it to you, I want to talk about meeting a football coach almost basically 20 years ago. That was a high school coach from Arkansas that I become great friends with because of what we do together. And I will say this about our industry. There's no way I can put into words the friendships that I have developed around the world, around the country. Uh, I can't even imagine going back to what I call the business world that I was a part of, because in that world, it was a dog eat dog. And I don't mean it in a rude way, but man, they were, even though they were my customers, it was brutal. The negotiations, the things that people, it was just constant. And it was just a different style of business. And here, and I had employees, and I thought employees liked me, but in essence, the employees really, I was the boss, and they just thought I made too much money, and I thought I paid them too much money. So it was never one of those friendship things. It was just always a boss-employee relationship. So before we start, what I want to tell you is not only will you be able, if you'll stick with this industry for long enough, I lost, I got muted a second. There's no way I can put into words how much difference it is to be in a business where we're partners. And I hear people say, you're upline. No, guys, if you really get this in the right way, it's not about upline, downlines. It's about business associates and relationships. We're truly in a relationship business. And I think all businesses have some form of relationships, but there's never a way to put into words how much different our industry makes in the relationship factor. And the person I want to bring up first is Todd, because his and my relationship started as football coach, and he's younger than me, but I needed to learn how to do a business. And what I didn't realize in the very beginning was he was kind of learning as we kind of learned together. I just looked to him because he knew more than I did. And he helped me to get to another level by encouraging and the things he did. And it's just not an employee type relationship. Now he's one of my best friends in the world, and we talk all the time a lot about not business, but guys, there's no way I can put into it what it takes to really to understand and it's not, you're not going to develop that in a year. You think you've got some great things in a year and 2 years, you're going to really develop over a period of years, these relationships that are just as important as the financial side of this. So I'm a little slow this morning. I will admit I had dental surgery on Tuesday, and I didn't tell a lot of people that, but I had a bone graft done in my jaw. And so I was a little sluggish this week. So here's the good part. My paychecks didn't reflect that. Business was still good, because when other people had to take time off, it didn't really have an effect. I was able to text, and I worried if I sent you a crazy text, there was some pain meds involved. I assure you, for a couple of days there, I was out of it. So at any rate, my wife had to take my phone away from me because I think I was texting things that was a little crazy. So anyway, Todd, we want to talk about our journey here and why residual income. And I think it's so important. A lot of times we talked about this just not long ago when you were here in Jackson about, we forget 19 years ago. We forget 20 years ago when we shared Motel 6 to save 20 bucks. And from there and where we've ended up today. So let's talk about the journey. And I'm going to turn it to you to kind of start, and then I'll kind of chime in and kind of go from there.
Yeah, Chris, and I want to just reiterate, everybody that's plugged in Saturday after Saturday, from Aaron Decker on the horse to, the fellowship, the positive atmosphere, the friendships you will develop. It can never be overstated how important all that is in your journey. It ends up being one thing I learned that I didn't know in the beginning was I was always chasing the end result. And it's sometimes when you're chasing the end result, meaning you forget to enjoy the process. And that's maybe the number one thing I've learned as I've gotten to be 50 years old. I enjoy every day now. I enjoy the process. I enjoy the bad meetings. I enjoy the good meetings. I enjoy the negative people. I enjoy the positive people. But what I want to tell you this morning is this is the purest industry in the world because it does a couple of things. Number one, it allows anybody to participate. There are no education prerequisites. There's no parent prerequisites. There's no skin color prerequisites. There's nobody that gets to tell you you can or can't. There's nobody that will judge you. They will judge you. Their judgment just doesn't matter. This is a business that you get to participate in. You can start here for $24.95 and $370 worth of products over an 8-week time frame. So even the person living at the most menial standards, paycheck to paycheck, anybody, I mean, that's about, in today's inflationary standards, that's about 3 or 4 going out to eat dinners at a decent restaurant over an 8-week period that you got to give up to own a business that over the course of a decade or so could create millions of cash flow into your life and eventually your kids' lives forever. It's a legacy business. And here's why it's so pure, Chris. The only way you will ever become successful here is to develop a skill set that knows how to make other people money. It's never about your paycheck. And that's one thing that Chris didn't understand in the beginning is because he was used to being the boss. And I was always willing to work for Chris for free. It didn't make sense to him. He was like, I got meetings in Knoxville. And I'm like, okay, I'll go stay up there next week. He said, well, I may not be able to be there 2 days. I got such and such. He was trying to move into it full time quickly because my job was to make Chris money. And what makes this the purest business in the world is that if I could make Chris money, I could make money. If I couldn't make Chris money, I couldn't make money. In this business, you must find a few people's lives to change, because without changing other people's lives, your life will never change. And because of that, I actually met, I'll use her name, Kim Gray. I just want to share this real quick. Let me put this one thing out there, Chris. I always tell people that one of my Achilles heels in New Age is I've lost my story. Because when I started my journey in this industry, I was a absolutely broke football coach living below paycheck to paycheck. I had a wife that stayed home with 3 kids. We had our 4th right after we went full time. Chris had just lost his company to the NAFTA agreement. He had just filed bankruptcy. He was driving a Suburban with 270,000 miles on it. We were sharing hotel rooms. We just had a dream. That's all we had. And I didn't realize how much power that had when I was sharing it with other people, because really people relate to that way more than they can relate to my story today. When I tell somebody today that I haven't worked in 20 years, I've lived on residual income, and that I could retire tomorrow and never work again, it's not really a relatable story. I don't even know that it's inspiring. I mean, I see actors. I see Tom Brady. I would really love to be Tom Brady. I just don't think that I can. So sometimes when you get on the other side, I think there's a mental roadblock that you don't think you can get there. So what I want, the moral of that story is if you're a beginner here, just starting your journey, and your success is not what you want it to be, and your life work outside of this business is not exactly what you want it to be, That is the most powerful story. And what I was going to say was, I'm in a hotel room now, headed to 3-day trip into South Carolina with a group. But the last 2 days I was in North Alabama with a group, Sonia Enfinger, Kim Gray, number of great people there. But Kim Gray, who many of you have heard her story, I heard a new story I didn't know. Everybody knows her muscular dystrophy story, the 82 pounds she's lost. But I found out on this trip that when she joined our company, her husband had been injured and had not had work, and they had ran up almost $30,000 in credit card bills over that 2-year span with no ability to get out of it. I mean, they were just absolutely buried. And yesterday morning, when we went to do our all-day meetings, she showed up literally crying. I asked her, could she do this on Zoom today? And she just couldn't do it yet. But she had tears in her eyes when she was sharing that her $1,200 check yesterday gave her the ability to pay the last $1,000 off on that $30,000 worth of debt she started her journey with here 29 months ago. So over a 29-month period, she's never gone full-time. She still has a job. On a part-time basis, she has chipped away at a mountain of debt that talking about a Chris, when you're able to get somebody started and they do that. So what I told her yesterday, I was like, that is the story that will now take you to millions. It's not about the success. It's about the struggle, because 95% of the people are in the struggle. So Chris, that is the greatest thing about our industry, because we are empowering people. Everybody can participate. Anytime a leader asks me what I need to do to create wealth, the first thing you got to do is get started. Until you recruit enough people to identify a few people that want to work, you got to be in the mud here. And the mud is everybody you know, everybody you don't know is a candidate 24/7 to change their life. And you have to develop a good enough skill set, not to get them involved, to get them to listen to somebody who can share the model correctly. I think I'll use that. I'll go back to you, Chris. You may have something to input on what I've just said, but then we'll kind of talk through now the model of really how to be successful from the starting gate.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head so much, Todd, when you talked about the stories. I think you and I both have, because we've done this for so long, we forget of our struggles in the beginning. And sometimes I try to share those in Saturday morning trainings when I'm at a big event. But you're right. I had that employer-employee mentality. Something I want to point out. Each time we do these Zooms, I know people take notes, and people will say, I need to find me a football coach. I mean, my sister said it to me, just so I need to find me a coach like Todd Rowland. So she goes up and signs this coach up, and he's not going to be on. I don't have to worry about it. I could use his name because he's not going to be here, because he didn't have the same mindset Todd had about making a change in his life. So then there's going to be the people who say, I need to find me up a bankrupt business owner. That's what I was, the bankrupt business. Todd and I come from so opposite differences here. And we're going to walk through that. But I want you to realize is that the stories, is it how you come back, or whatever we can look, if I look down as I see leaders, the truth of the matter is everybody had a struggle. See, Brent Palmer's a coach, so he has the same thing. But Aaron had a story, but it wasn't a coach. But what we're looking for, and which is we get into this, is, and I had a lady come over here this is going to be a superstar. I'm totally convinced of that because of her mindset. And I actually went into some things earlier, her hot chocolate. We had her on a few weeks ago. Melody Collier's her name. And Melody said, so what do I need to do to build something massive? And you just said it, Todd. You said, you talked about making other people money. And I think so many times we start talking about how much money am I making, how much money. And the truth of the matter is, it's developing. So I told her, I said, my formula for success, and we'll kind of get into this, is simple. We always talk about the 4x4. I like that. I think it's a great slogan. The t-shirts are great. But finding 4 people to become brand partners and 4 customers. Well, 4 customers are great, which may turn into a brand partner. But let's face it, we want 4 partners. If you can find 4 brand partners, now here's the key to it. She said, well, I've already got 4. I've got 8. I got 9. I said, you got to have 4 that want this as bad as you want it. Because I can sign up 4. That's never going to be the question. The question is, do those 4 want what I want? Are they trying to accomplish? And can I go pour myself into them? And so I want to say this, and I've said this before, but it's not, when I started here, I thought Todd Rowland was going over and beyond everything, and he did. He helped me. He kept me on track. And then I began to learn, if Todd got what he wanted, he had to help me get what I wanted. So we talk about mentors. I can talk about tons of them. My brother was a mentor. I mean, my mother was a mentor. I mean, I can talk about other. Todd was a mentor to me in the early stages of this business, still is today, but in the early stages, I call it like like I was a baby trying to learn. And I've heard someone say this years ago, babies only know two things, crying and sucking. And I was that baby. I was crying and sucking because I lost the company and I'd lost $8 million and I'm trying to make ends meet. But Todd taught me how to wean me. He taught me, he gave me a pacifier. He gave me a chance to get started. And then as time went, he weaned me off of the pacifiers, or maybe I weaned myself off, whatever the reason, his mentorship took me there. So I really think we want to talk about that. Sometimes we try to make this too complicated. Everybody wants to come up with you and I get pitched this all the time. Somebody's got this system. They want you to buy this program. And I love your answer. Go prove the system works and I'll sell you hundreds of thousands of them. But the problem is we haven't found a better system than going to find 4 people who want to work. Not 4 people whose giants join. That's easy. I can go sign up 4 people in a heartbeat. I want 4 people who that want better, who don't want to say, and one of the biggest, hardest things is not blaming somebody else for your success or your failure. You've got to find 4 people who want it, that no excuses. So I'm going to end with this. Nobody ever talks about this story, Todd. My personal sponsor didn't do much here. And in that company, there was something called coded bonuses. So my upline did a little, but they didn't do a lot. There was 27 people. Todd and I went and did the math. There was 27 people between Todd and I. So what happened to the other 26? They still go to work at 7 o'clock in the morning, lots of them. They still punch a clock. They still complain about day-to-day rituals and how they're trying. And I love that, to understand what is the difference between those 26. That's what I want Todd to talk about. What's the difference in my sponsor who made a little money, but what's the difference in those 26 and Todd and myself? Because there's 26 between he and I, and we can name them off by name if you want. I mean, he knows them, I know them. It's just the difference.
Yeah. So Chris, here's your play. And the play is depending on where you're starting here, you've got to grow your mind. Even I was listening to something last night and it said the problem with people that have egos is they think they know it all, which means they're stuck wherever they are. They could be $1 million ego person, but they can't be a $10 million ego person because they're stuck in the know-it-all phase. The great people never, ever stop growing their mind, learning, investing in themselves. So everybody begins their journey here. But one thing I will tell you in the beginning is you have to stop putting negative things into your mind. And that's easier than said than done because we're bombarded. Lots of times we have family issues going on that provides plenty of negativity, and it's easy to get buried and stressed in it. The TV, I mean, you just can't hardly turn the daggum thing on anymore. It's just a constant bombardment of negativity. It's just, there's 14 different news stations that run 24 hours a day, the morning news, the lunchtime news, the local news, and none of them bring any positivity that's going on in your town. So I encourage you, unplug from the negative plug and plug into the positive plug. That's probably my biggest trait is I'm always a glass half full person. I always see the best no matter what the situation is. And part of that is because I unplug from the negative plug, and I'm always, when I'm driving down the road, and that's hours upon hours, it is YouTube video after YouTube video after YouTube video on you name the subject. That's positive. It could be a number of things, from learning how to be healthier to learning how to create more income, learning how to invest better, motivational speakers, you name it. So that's one. That's a constant. Number 2, you have to be honest with yourself about where you are in life and where you would like to be. Because this is the lie that if you aren't honest with yourself, that will make you quit. Because This business is a business. There are lots of days that aren't good. There are lots of people that will join you and not work. It's just business. It has nothing to do with our industry. Go start a small business. That's the reason one time I tell people you don't want football coaches, you really want small business owners, because they're tougher people, because they've already had to deal with the ups and downs and disappointments and stress of restarting and picking themselves off the mat. Athletes, a lot of times, I don't know if it's coaches, it's more athletes, because athletes have to learn how to lose and then fight back so they can win again the next game or the next week. That's one of the problems in the society we live in today. We live in everybody gets a trophy society. And when you get out here in the real world as an entrepreneur, I promise everybody don't get a trophy. You must earn your trophy, and your trophy size depends on how good you get at it. So the deal is you've got to establish your why. Why am I going to do this part-time business? What do I want? Out of debt, retirement, kids' education funds, pay that credit card off like Kim Gray just did. We're going to hear from Jerry Halsey in 2 seconds. Shut down a construction company, get your life back, get away from having to deal with the employees, all of those kinds of things. So yeah, Anthony, if you want to pull up Jerry, we're going to go to him in just a minute because he's shutting down his company to go full-time in about another 10 days. But you got to write it down. It's got to be on paper. As a matter of fact, I'll go to you now, Jerry. Then we're going to come back and I'm going to tell you exactly how to do this, because there is a process of what you need to do daily to make it work. But one of the things I kept telling Jerry, because Jerry kept telling me what he wanted in life. He didn't want employees. He wanted to buy a big piece of property and build a house for him and his wife and his 2 girls. And for years, I've known Jerry for years, and he was kind of stuck in the mud. He was having success, but not leapfrogging. And I kept saying, Jerry, have you wrote it down? Have you made your dream board? Is it somewhere you're looking at it every day? And he kept giving me excuses. And Jerry, you finally did it about a year ago. So tell us what you put on that dream board, and tell me what's transpired in that past year.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be glad to. Can you guys hear me okay?
We got you loud and clear.
All right. So yeah, I finally took, by the way, happy birthday, Steve Schwartz. But I finally took Todd's advice, and I didn't draw it out. I went and found pictures of it, relatively close to what I wanted. And I took a big piece of poster board, and I literally glued the house that we wanted. I literally glued just a piece of property, no specifics really with it, even though I think it's better to do specifically. But I glued a piece of property on there. I glued a picture of an apartment in Auburn, Alabama, where I wanted my daughter to be able to go when she started attending Auburn, and multiple other things. I mean, there's some that I know they're a little further out, but I have that now, and it sits. So when I pull up and sit down at my desk before I do a Zoom or do any other kind of work, I get to look at that, and so it begins to manifest in my mind. And if I can manifest it in my mind, I think we have creative power. I really do. So what's transpired from that? We now own. We don't owe a payment on it. We own a beautiful 3-acre tract of property here in town that we're going to start building a house on. We have I didn't buy an apartment, of course, but the money that I make now through my residual income through New Age is more than paying for my daughter's very expensive apartment in Auburn, Alabama. And it wasn't the same apartment because she chose a different one than I chose, but nonetheless, it's paid for. We're in the process now of paying off a few things, and I have a picture that's glued to my dream board, as I call it, of becoming debt free. And Todd, you and I talked about this last week. I was able to pay off a note that was looming over my head, and so that has transpired. So what Todd was trying to relay to you, and what I'm telling you is that I saw it. I put it in front of me, and I could begin to manifest it. And I started working towards those dreams. And now I can check off 3 of those things that's on my dream board right now. And so the way I look at that, it's not that, I'm 3 off the list. I'm putting 3 more on the list now. Todd, you and I've talked, I'm buying a piece.
So Jerry, you bought the property that you put on there. Your daughter lives in the apartment that you put on there. And the other thing you put on there is you wanted your life back and not have to deal with employees every day. And you're now shutting your construction company down officially in a couple of weeks to go completely full-time in your residual-based business.
That's right. And by the way, I want to tell you, both you and Chris, I really appreciate the fact that y'all aren't sitting back and saying, "Oh, this is as easy as falling off a log." It's not. If you want better things out of life, you have to work for it. And you do have to get down in the mud. So, yeah, what I decided was that the business that I was in wasn't getting me where I wanted to go. And I've been in this company for several years, and I've just begun to watch my income continue to grow and continue to grow. And so what transpired over the last year or two, and you know this very well, just like in my construction job, I'll get over the weekend, I'm looking at the weather forecast. I need to know what the weather's going to do or be like, because that's how I can project my business. Well, I did this with my company, my actual company, and I saw the situation with the not getting any better. So I saw the storm clouds ahead, so to speak. And so I began making preparations to get out of this business. And let's just say I'm less than a month from being totally out of the construction business. It's a scary step, but I'm not stepping from something into nothing. I'm stepping from nothing into something is the way I look at it. So I couldn't be more excited about where I'm headed with this, and couldn't be more excited about the team that I have with Kim and a lot of other folks in my business. And it's going to be the best decision I ever made. It really is.
Yeah. And Jerry, last thing I'll just say it for you is that you drew that a year ago. And since that time, about 1,000 brand partners have joined your organization. I think you have about 400 new brand partners now in the continent of Africa, throughout Nigeria and South Africa. So amazing things can happen. And what else we'll switch to, and congratulations, Jerry, but I gotta move forward to get the actual format laid out. I'm gonna leave you one last thing, and then Chris and I are gonna walk you through kind of what we do every day, what we did every day. So number one is, I don't want you to be the person on this call that doesn't draw your dream board or write out your manifestation. One of the YouTube videos I've listened to on this trip is, and I encourage you to go listen to it, but there's a memoir that they've done on Steve Jobs. He actually asked a guy to do it while he was dying of cancer. Steve Jobs, the guy that created Apple, if you don't recognize the name, at one point the richest guy on planet Earth. We all know he's transformed all of our lives with the iPhones, the iPads, the iMacs, you name it. But one of the things I got out of this hour-and-a-half memoir was, because they went and they didn't ask him. He wanted them to go interview, good and bad, what everybody said about him. And there were some people that said some bad things about him, but the universal thing that everybody said about him was, they didn't say how smart he was. They didn't say he was some computer geek. They all said he had an innate ability to manifest his reality, that the reality he was living in was never his reality. And the issue that I've learned over the last 20 years is that people do this both good and bad in their lives. So I have an innate ability to manifest. If I work with you every day, I can almost manifest your future, because I just tell you every day what you're going to do until you finally just can't help but believe it. But I do that to myself. And I've had moments in time where I can't do it. Chris will tell you, there was a couple year span there that I had to take off because I had been hit in the forehead with a baseball bat in life, and I had to stop for a minute. So I'm not saying you can do it every second of every day. We all have life to deal with, but 45 of the 50 years I've been alive, I can think it in my head and create it over a short period of time, because I tricked myself into believing my reality I'm living in is not true. Whether that was in coaching, moving up to better schools, better programs, winning state championships. And in this industry, when people, it's so funny. I hear somebody say, people don't want to do living room meetings. And excuse my French, hell, they've never wanted to do living room meetings. In 2001, they didn't want to do living room meetings. And I hear people say, nobody wants to do network marketing in my town. Well, hell, nobody wanted to do that. I have never seen where people wanted to do this. This is not about wanting to do network marketing. It's about delivering a vehicle to people that can get them things in life they want. It just happens to be that this industry is the best available to do it. There is no other industry that the average football coach on borrowed money can join a company and on sweat equity and manifesting his future can change his family's life. It doesn't exist anywhere else. So, Chris, let's begin the journey now. by talking about the process. And the first thing we've got to do is we have to write down a list of people. We're going to talk a little bit about Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. But the first thing we got to do, because if this could all be done by putting pretty pictures on social media, Chris, they probably wouldn't pay us. The company probably just do that themselves. So if you're putting a bunch of pictures out there on social media and you're not rich yet, there's a reason why. I'm not saying it won't work, and I'm not saying some people aren't doing it, but I'm going to tell you that referral warm market marketing will never be beat. And the majority of the great people you're going to sign up on social media are going to be friends, people that know you somehow. Unless you get innately good at it and you're a beautiful, beautiful person people will actually pay attention to. That's the only ones I see really doing it. So the first thing I had to do, Chris, is, and you and I have done it. I've got notebook pads where I've probably written 1,000 names down over time. And I always tell people, don't write down people that you know would do this. Write down people that you know. Forget you're going to someday approach them. Just start making your list. Your contact list in your phone does not count. I need it with a red pen on yellow paper, name, number, name, number, name, number, name. You need to write it and make it long. Chris, what do you want to say about that?
Well, you know that I'm a big believer in writing down the names. I mean, that's something I've done now for, even though, some people would say you don't have to do that anymore. And I guess that's true, but I'm constantly, and I can't help myself. I'm almost worried that I've been obsessed about it, writing down new names or remembering somebody that I hadn't thought of, or seeing a post by somebody and I write their name down. And it doesn't mean I'm calling them tomorrow. It's a name on my list that I'm working towards. But I want to go back to something Jerry said, because I really, truly believe in a dream board, if you want to call it a dream board. I've never really called it that. I call it goals. And Todd, you may remember it, and I can't get up and go do this because we know we're on camera here. And I came up here quickly and I'm in boxer shorts. So I love to be able to work in my boxers, but I have a pad back here that I wrote what you told me 19 and a half years ago, whatever it was, 20 years ago, that said you need to write down what you're trying to accomplish here. And I didn't put pictures on as good as Jerry, but I wrote down basically 4 basic things. And they weren't all financial. One was just to be a better father and a better husband. Second, it was to make a certain amount of money. Debt-free was a big word I wrote on mine. Debt-free was in capitals and it was highlighted. And then I wrote down a monthly income stream that I wanted to accomplish. And I gave myself a 5-year plan. I didn't say I got to do this by Christmas. And I want to make that clear. Jerry's been here, and I've talked to him on the phone 2 years ago when he talked about what he wanted to accomplish from this. And he was doing all the fundamentals to get there. And I'm just so proud of Jerry. I want to say that because I've watched, I know what kind of person he is. He's a good person to begin with, but his efforts have also reflected that he didn't just listen to what you told him or hear what you told him. He actually put it into action. So I'm a big believer. I put it on my phone. Many people know I had a boat on my phone for some time, kind of odd. I'm in the position where I could afford the boat right now. I haven't made a decision to buy one yet. I'm still trying to pick one out, but I've changed my picture. The boat's no longer is a reality, because I can if I want to. I just haven't made the decision. So I wanted to make that clear, that it is so critical. Those are the basic fundamentals that you told me to start with, and I still have the sheet, even though it's a goal that I've surpassed a long, long time ago. So as we talk about finding people, or this list that you talked about, a lot of times we talk about you said who goes on the list. You think about who would be good. I hear so many times, we got to get this guy because he's going to be good. Guys, one thing, if there's one thing I will tell you, I've learned one thing, you ain't gonna figure it out. If there's one thing in 20 years, if there's one piece of advice, Todd and I have listened to the phone call from so many reps who give me a 15-minute orientation, and I'm still guilty. I still told Todd about a guy that I was so sure is going to kill this. He's not going to be on here. He ain't going to do it.
I didn't listen to you, Chris. I don't ever hear that. I tuned it out. I was like,
my point is, I'm still guilty in saying it. It's what I want to point out. I'm still guilty, but we all have this person. We're so convinced if we get this one guy, this one person could really do it. They have the abilities. I think I mentioned my Mercedes-Benz salesman. I bought a car from him. I was convinced he's too comfortable in life to really get going. But then again, I find someone else who's comfortable in life, but they go do it. So what's the difference? What I will tell you, if there's only one thing I learned, is I don't know. I don't know who's got the want to, who has, and I can see talent. I can tell you right now, I'll take want to over talent any day. I'll take somebody who wants it because they can be trained over someone who has the talent. Now, that's not to say that someone's a big network marketer that's been doing it for a long time and they bring a team with them. It's not great. Aaron Decker's had a lot of success bringing some people over. I don't mean that type of person, but I'm talking about that person you think that's got the personality for it. I hear them say it all the time. They have sales ability. They're a salesman. Guys, I don't need salesmen. I hate to say that. I don't want salesmen. I want people who want to change their future, who are honest, quality people who just want to make a difference. But now, on the other side of that coin, and I want to turn it back to you, Todd, is that we work through four. I say 4 is our number, but I told Melody the other day, I said, you've got to find 4 who want to do this. So you may have to recruit 44 or 104 or 204, or you may get lucky and the first 4 you get are the right 4. For me and for anyone, it's about the next one and working through those people. Richard Tuggle is on this call, and everybody talks about that, and they know I got Richard on my team. I didn't sign up Richard Tuggle. Tina did, and she's not going to be on here. I hope she is, wish she would be. Got the ability to do this in a big way, but Tina led me to Richard. So Todd, let's talk about and that was one of the things I want to talk about. I was 27 levels from you. When you sign up your 4, you've got to develop relationships and help them, not just get 4, go help your 4 get their 4. And if they're not willing to get their 4, go find you somebody else that's willing to find 4. And that is the simplicity of what we do.
Yeah. So Chris, that's one step further. We got to get one step in before we go down that path, which what you're talking about is the wealth creation path. But you can't get in the wealth creation path until you get into getting started path. So we've got our name list. So now what I've got to do is I have to become a great inviter. And I didn't say a great presenter. I didn't say a great signer-upper. You have to become a great inviter. How do I invite? I'm going to give you like 5 basic ways. I call social media post invitations. So if you're putting a lot of posts out on social media and you're getting no responses, you're not inviting very well on social media. But because that's what you're doing. You're inviting them to listen to you about an opportunity or a product. That's a skill set that some people are way better at than others. Kim Gray is extremely good at inviting with a before and after picture on Facebook. Gosh, I forget her name, but the blonde girl down in Dallas, Texas, everybody knows her. She is a great inviter on social media. She puts things out there, people respond. She's a great inviter. Okay, so there are people that I would follow in that world and watch how they invite and kind of mimic them. I will tell you one that I follow a bunch. I follow the Europeans, I follow them all, but since I work with Kim Gray, Whitney Johns, thank you. So sorry, Whitney Johns. I'm so sorry, Whitney, if you're on here. But she's probably signed up 300 or 400 people inviting on social media. But she's really good at it. She's really pretty, which hits the 2 categories that I see that most success occurs on social media. So, I mean, I'm a 50-year-old man carrying 40 pounds too much weight. I'm not going to have the success inviting on social media that Whitney Johns is. I have to have a reality check with myself and understand that. But I can get really good at other ways of inviting and still invite that way. It may just not be my main source. So my main way of inviting is I have signed up probably 3 or 4 or 5, maybe 5 dozen people through post on social media over time. So I'm always recruiting that way. You're just dripping on people. As a matter of fact, Lorraine McFarland just signed up a guy named Tom down in Tampa through a social media post, but come to find out 2 things about it. Number one, when I talked to Tom, he had been watching Lorraine McFarland's post for a year. So it took him a year to bite. And number 2, he knew her already. It was a friend that knew her fairly well, just had not been in touch with her for some time, which then reinforces that Whitney Johns is good at getting strangers. But the majority of us, our inviting skill set on social media are going to be reaching out over time and getting people to respond to us that know us somehow, going back to why network marketing exists in the first place. But the other way to invite is to pick up the phone and call someone. And this is a skill set. And this is where a lot of people mess up. They try to pick up the phone and convince someone of their product, their process, or their business. And especially if you're new, you're going to lose that battle more times than not. I will tell you, I talked to Brent Palmer, I talked to Aaron Decker, I talked to Chris. We in this company are about a 80 to 90% sign up. If you get me in front of them, if you put me in front of 10 people, I'm going to sign up about 8 or 9 of them. That's a guarantee. It happens in every meeting I go to. So, but I have a skill set of presenting at this point. So what you want to do if you're new and you're not having a success is you got to invite by understanding that if you could say one word and get away with it, that's all you need. Less is more. Just remember that. Don't go down any rabbit hole. Don't give any detail. Your only job on the phone call is to get somebody an invitation to attend a 2-on-1 presentation with somebody that you know at a local coffee shop, at a kitchen table. A 2-on-1 presentation on a Zoom. Zooms are really, really proficient, especially in the smaller arena, meaning that Chris invites somebody and it's me, Chris, and the person he invites on there. Maybe we ask one more person to come on and give a testimonial. It could even be 3, 4, 5. I mean, you could have a person do a living room type setting. But if you can get somebody in your upline presenting for your invitation, that is your secret. That, as a matter of fact, almost everybody over 20 years that's had any real success in network marketing has used that format in my organization, has used somebody in their upline. Richard Tuggle used Chris. Jerry Halsey used Todd. Jane Boland used Aaron Decker. And now then, the Hoppies use Richard Hawkins at this point. Initially, Richard Hawkins used Chris and Richard. None of these people that you see are successful went out and became successful on their own, doing their own presentations. They all were attached to somebody that was proficient at presenting in person or on Zoom. And then, Chris, I'm going to tell you this. The most powerful environment that exists on planet Earth is if you could get living room meetings running, meaning that you're in somebody's living room. I'm always learning. And I'm going to tell you this, this was a nugget of all nuggets, Chris. I'm driving to Huntsville, Alabama on Wednesday. I called Brent Palmer. He's headed to a meeting. And I said, Brent, I'm on my way to a meeting. And we talked for a minute and he says, I'm about to head out to my party tonight. We're going to the same thing. He's going to do a meeting, I call it. And I said, dadgummit, I said, I'm headed to a meeting and you're headed to a party. I ain't doing no more meetings. I'm starting to do living room parties. I hate meetings. So party's my new name. I'm not doing any more living room meetings, Chris. I gotta change 20 years of terminology, but I'm starting to do living room parties. You can do Zoom parties. You can reach, you can have 3, 4, 5, 6 people on a Zoom party. So that's the infrastructure. Chris, add anything to the infrastructure, and then we're going to close out the last 10 minutes talking about what you brought up, and that's now how we learn. Once you get a business growing, how we learn to identify 2 or 3 people, become great friends with them, and start building through them and finding who we're really looking for.
Absolutely. And I guess you're right, Todd, I forget to talk about the most important factor. A good inviter can build a massive business because he has upline that'll help. So the invitation becomes the most basic fundamental of things that we do to build here.
It's everything. It's your mindset, it's your why, so you don't quit, and it's learning how to invite. And everybody on here can identify someone up there that's very, very proficient at presenting the model.
Absolutely. And just for everybody's information, you were talking about Whitney Johnson, who has been so successful on social media. And this is certainly, she's incredible. That has not ever worked for me. It doesn't mean that I don't like social media. It doesn't mean I'm against it, because I have a lot of people who've done well with it. But my inviting formula is more of old school. And that is send a message, send a text. I need to talk a second, without trying to give them the information. We all want to be scared and not give the information. So the invitation is the key to it, and keeping it short and sweet. And we can't word it for you exactly. I mean, but you're going to have, that's the part you'll have to, I've got something you need to talk, just a simple, as you said it, Todd, less is more. The best way is, the most important thing about the call is remembering what it's for, and that is to get the invitation to get on a Zoom. And so as we go forward, Todd, let's talk about what happens at these, we talk, I think it's interesting.
Chris, let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
When you started, I don't know if you remember or not, but I remember what launched you in this business. Do you remember what we did together? You had a pool and you could kick barbecue wings. And for about 12 weeks in a row, you had a wing party at your pool and you got everybody to show up and eat free wings and drink beer. And I presented, and we got a momentum like no tomorrow, moving around wings in a school party.
That's exactly right. The bottom line was,
it was Friday night too. It was every Friday night.
That's right. We would do it. I had been known for my tailgate parties about bringing a lot of wings. And so I started inviting people to come to my house. We were just cooking out, and that's what we did. There was a pool party at my house. And that pool party over a period of weeks grew to bigger than some meetings because, and I hadn't thought about it, but the word party is what we called it. We didn't say meeting. We had people and it came just for the wings. And hey, here's the crazy part. I probably couldn't name off many of those people there, but those people led us to the right people. So it's about the numbers. You start sharing with the right numbers, the right people will show up in your business. And we knew, and I heard the most important thing that you just said is that you've got two of the top money earners right here. You got Brent Palmer is the top money earner in the last company, top money earner here. Where was he going? He's going to a home party. Yet you think that something changes. The fundamentals never change. That is getting in front of people. And the best way to be in front of people is face to face. They'll never, ever duplicate. Now, Zoom, great. Absolutely. That's second best. But the bottom line is a face to face percentages of going up much higher because people can, I believe it's because they feel the passion. That's the part that I was really struggling with the Zoom about, is that when you're the funny part is Zoom's now a household name, and my 6-year-old granddaughter's on it. And we've been using Zoom for several years, but I don't think you feel that I think you can feel when you're at a home party, you just feel that. And it's so funny because I see people say, that want to do this so bad, they'll give you all things. But then the first thing I usually ask is, have me tell, I suggested to some people, let's do a home party. Let's do a home party. And then they say, I don't care about doing a home party. I don't want to do a home party. Well, how bad do you want success? See, Kristen says this about her gym, and I'm gonna get off of that. She people all the time saying, man, I wish I had a physique like yours. And she says, start at 6 o'clock in the morning. But they don't show up at 6 o'clock the next morning. Okay. So the business is no different. I've just always been business minded. I want to do the fundamental things that I heard Brent said on one of our other calls. Do the things that are income producing. Do the things that cause it to work. And what do we know? So you got two top earners right here, and they're in somebody's living room this week multiple times. So let's go to the second part, Todd.
Yeah. So Chris, I do want to add one last thing to the social media aspect. Amy Summers, she does a lot of her business on the internet too, but she uses Facebook Live, and she almost, and again, women can do this a little better than men. At least I haven't seen a man do it yet. Let's put it that way. I can always be proven wrong, and I'm totally good with it. Manifest your future, never let me speak it. But Amy Summers does her lives on Facebook, which really are living room meetings. I mean, she's in there, she's personable, she's developing relationships, mama to mama, woman to woman. I mean, she's really, really, really good at it. So what I want to get across is these people you see that, because I think a lot of people, Chris, use social media as a shortcut around their fears. I do it. I mean, I would much rather put a post on Facebook or Instagram and let somebody call me and tell me they're ready to sign up than pick up the phone and call them. And I've been doing this for 20 years. It is a shortcut around my fears. Let's just be flat honest. So if I want to go from where I am today higher, I'm going to have to face more fears, because for me, I don't think my posts are going to get me there. But if you master it, like Whitney has on the recruiting side, like Amy has on the building side, you really master it, it absolutely can work. I mean, they're proving that it works. But now the last piece of the puzzle, and that is, you now have some people on your team. Number one, you have to get people plugged in. That's the number one thing, is that so many times people sign up and I don't know, some people work out of fear of loss. They're so scared to plug them in. And I know there's dangers in plugging in if somebody leaves their company and tries to recruit them. I mean, there's all kinds of things. I'll just tell you, people that aren't plugged in generally don't make it long term because they don't have an energy source to fuel into. I'm a Christian. I'm a Jesus believer. Church doesn't get me to heaven, but it's really good for me to show up maybe once a week at church. And just because I'm beat up by the world 6 days a week, it's kind of the same thing in our type of business. In this type of business, you can be a really strong believer and really want it. But when you get unplugged and work gets you and the kids get you and the spouse gets you and the anxiety gets you, everything we all deal with, and you don't have any energy source coming in, out of sight, out of mind, gone, bye. So transformation health styles, transformation lifestyles, the skincare one, MOA Challenge, RX Nation, all the ones that Jennifer Johnson, there's so many of them. I don't care. It doesn't make me no difference which ones you plug into, multiple ones, maybe a brand new person, only choose them 1, 2, or 3, the ones you're using the most. Just get them plugged in. Create infrastructure. So your infrastructure can be a weekly meeting. It's my preferred choice. Your infrastructure can be a bi-weekly meeting. That's my second choice. Your infrastructure can be a weekly presentation Zoom that you've got somebody really, really good running, or like I know Anthony, Dr. Crystal, Tammy Crumwitty, a lot of them run one at 10 o'clock on Mondays. A lot of times I know that one, they're very consistent with it. So sometimes I'll take a guest and plug them into that Zoom and say, hey, go watch the Zoom at 10 o'clock Monday morning. Find yours, just infrastructure. They've got to plug into something like that. Facebook groups, weekly meetings, weekly Zooms. It could be this Saturday morning training. It could be Brent Palmer's coaches call on Sunday night. It could be Robin DeMio. It could be Tammy Maltby. It does not matter. Just plug in. And then, Chris, here's the magic. And I'm looking up here. We got 5 minutes to talk about the magic, but you can't do what we're about to tell you until you get started and deal with your fears, deal with your mind, deal with your ability to manifest your future. I forgot to mention one last thing. When I said earlier, a lot of people manifest it the wrong way, which what I meant by that was sometimes everything in your life can be going wrong. There ain't nothing right. Bank account's bad, work is bad, relationships are bad. It's like everything is terrible. But certain people can manifest their way out of that. They just don't live in that reality. It's real, but they ain't there. They're already, like, I can speak people's future. Matter of fact, my parents don't have the ability. I did not get it from them. And they would always almost scold me in network marketing in the beginning, and even in coaching. I would say, Dad, I'm going to get a job at Ole Miss. And he's like, Todd, you're coaching at Covington in West Tennessee. It's a 3A school. How are you going to get a job at Ole Miss? I'm going to. And it wasn't even a year later. I was interviewing when Tommy Tuberville was the coach at the time. I was sitting in his office, just me and Tommy, getting the interview there at Ole Miss. I just made it happen. Energy. I found a niche that I could help him, and I got the interview. I ended up taking a big job over in Arkansas instead, because at the strength coaching position wasn't enough money to support my family at the time. But I did get the interview and had the opportunity to get my foot in the door in the SEC at one point in my life. And my parents would say in network marketing, Todd, what you're saying for the front of the room isn't real. I said, yes, it is. It was real in my mind. I mean, I was probably at the time they were hearing me present. I'd quit my job. I was probably, I don't know, Chris, 10,000 a month. I don't know what I was. It wasn't a whole lot. But I was talking about being millionaires, and my parents knew I was not a millionaire. My dad had paid my way in a network marketing company 2 years later because I didn't have $300 to get started in it. So like, Todd, you can't say that stuff. I was like, Mom, it's going to happen. I'm going to make $1 million here. And she was like, how do you know that? I know that. I promise you, we are going to make $1 million in this industry. So I manifested my future. The opposite of that is complaining all the time. Oh my God, I could never get an interview at an SEC school. Those guys, that's for somebody else. Oh my goodness. Network marketing, I ain't got time for that. I'm already timed. I mean, all the excuses, I had them all. I had no time. I had no money. I had nobody I knew to call. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to present. So you have to manifest your future. But now, Chris, to end this, the secret is working through people you recruit. I didn't recruit Aaron Decker. I didn't recruit Chris Doyle. I didn't recruit Ken Bailey. I didn't recruit Jerry Halsey. I didn't recruit, although my wife was present when Jerry saw the business. I was present when Chris saw the business. I was present I actually was not present when Aaron saw the business, but I met him the next morning. I was present when Ken Bailey saw the business, but it wasn't my recruit. What I was doing is teaching people to become good inviters and get me in front of their people. And not only was I presenting for them, I was building the relationship. And like for Chris, as explaining earlier, I had done that through 26 people to get to Chris Doyle. So probably 22 of the 26 said, I don't want to do a living room meeting. Chris said, I hate what I'm doing right now. He didn't say I wanted to do a pool party. He said, I hate being a bail bondsman. I just lost my company. I'm broke. The bank's still coming after me. Will this work? Can I make real money? And I said, can you do a pool party and put me in front of people? So he had to deal with the adversity to get what he wrote on his goal sheet, my dream board, his goal sheet. So the pool party was the nastiness that led him to his future. And what he learned, because I taught him the right way, I didn't let him shortcut it. I didn't say, Chris, go put your fat belly on Facebook today, lose 20 pounds and put your skinny belly on there and we're going to get rich. I said, Chris, do a pool party. And he said, I can cook wings. And so I said, well, cook them, and free food always gets them to show up. That's 100% of the time. So he did it. And here's the last piece of that puzzle, Chris, and then you close it. Is because he started his business the right way. Everybody that joins you, it's almost impossible to untrain them the way they join. So if they join you off of a Facebook post, their whole journey here will be hoping somebody joins them off a Facebook post. But if they join you eating wings at a pool party and building a friendship and a relationship, not all of them, but they've all been trained correctly on day one. So the ones that do activate will say, when can we do one at my house? It happened to me for 20 years. When people joined at Activate, they say, can we do this for me? As a matter of fact, I'll end with this, Chris, I'm sorry. Just in Huntsville, Sonia does a weekly meeting at her clubhouse there at the subdivision they own. And then on the next day, she does a 6-hour day at a real estate office, big conference room where she does presentations on the hour. We've been doing that for a year for her. That's how she's got a big business. But what's now beginning to happen is she has a lady named Allison. She has a lady named Catherine. She has a personal trainer named Dallas, and some others. There's more than just that. But all of them yesterday, all were booking Kim and I, not back to the clubhouse, not back to the thing. They're like, hey, I've got this place on this side of town. When you come back next time, can you do a meeting for me at this particular place? Because I can get my friends to come there better. It's now they have ownership, they run it, and now Sonia has people in her business that she's going to show up and help, but they're the ones doing the infrastructure that they've seen her create. They're just not going to do it on their own. Pass it on business, isn't it, Chris?
Exactly. I mean, the bottom line is we know this part works. We know that's the way we both built our businesses. And I'm thinking about that, Todd, when he did bring back so many memories, because you was talking about doing those food parties. And I got to thinking about the people that I could start thinking of, people that joined our business from there that I did home parties for. I got where I could do a home party without you. And that's what it kind of mushroomed out from there. So we obviously are already over our time. And we try to do 1 hour. We've had so many requests in the chat room about an invite, an actual, how do we invite? We will do a Saturday morning on that, on wording, and we'll get some. Here's the funny part.
Hey, so Chris, let's just do that next week. Let's get about half a dozen good inviters with us. We'll kind of go through it, but I will tell you, the invitation can be business, which I encourage, and product. Just don't go in detail. Just say, hey, listen, I've seen something. And this is what I was telling Kim Gray this. So I don't want anybody to wait next Saturday. I told Kim Gray this. When she told me her credit card story, I said, if you want to go to the next level, I said, I know you're making an extra couple thousand a week now, but I said, if you want to be a millionaire, it's harder to take a weight loss invitation and turn it into a millionaire business partner than it is a business invitation. So I said, do you know how many people have your story of that credit card story? I said, I know how much people love your muscular dystrophy and weight loss story, but I said, don't abandon it. Use it always. but you must now develop an invitation with your getting out of debt story. Because if you can get somebody engaged here making money, like even if I love Moa and I've got tremendous inflammation and it's really helping, if things get tight at my house, it's a disposable income, Chris. I can cancel Moa. It's called a cancel auto ship or a canceled order. But if I'm invited to change my life financially, and I understand my auto ship keeps me financially engaged here for Friday paychecks, the chances of me going away, if I'm chasing a better future financially, has increased significantly that I'm not going to go away. Even if it takes me a year just to get enough flowing that would cover that. If I'm engaged down that road, that's less of a disposable income. That is my future. I'm chasing something. I'm not using something. So that invitation to invite somebody to see something they can do from home, part-time, low investment startup, residual income, and it did this for me, or this is what it's going to do for me. Speak your reality. Don't be scared to speak your future. Don't speak your reality to people. Don't go in there and say, it sucks. I ain't got nobody in yet. I won't make some money here. You got to speak it. Listen, I've joined a company, and in this next 12 months, I'm about to come debt free. I'm paying off a credit card. I am well on my way. I want you to be a piece of it. That's your invitation. It's all about your posturing ability. Chris thought I was an expert when I'd signed him up, although I was only a year ahead of him, because I postured that way with him. I postured that way I'll posture that way today if I don't know something, because I've learned how to posture. You give me a bottle of Aquafina, it's the only thing my hotel had, and I'm gonna posture and tell you if it's a Coca-Cola product, it's probably not good for me. I don't know if it is or not, but I'm gonna posture and say I should not be drinking Aquafina water because I heard Dr. Ginger say that. So you got to have a passion about whatever you're going to try to answer for somebody.
Well, guys, we're a little bit over, and I'm going to finish with what Todd just said, but I want to point out something. So you're talking to two people on a Saturday morning that I think you can hear in Todd's voice. I hope you can hear in my voice. As bad as that week as I've had with all the bone graft and all that, I've been slow. I could never. Will tell you, timing is critical, and you're in the right place at the right time. I mean that with all my heart. If it wasn't for that, I would just not be doing these Saturday mornings right now. I know how much we've got going right now. And if you'll master this invitation, short and master it. And it could be nothing more. So I'm going to give you my line. I've got something I think you ought to take a look at. I believe could be one of the largest companies in the world over the next few years. Would you give me a few minutes of your time? If they start saying, what is it? I want to say, could I have explained Uber to you 10 years ago? Could have I explained Airbnb 10 years ago? Could I have explained Amazon 20 years ago? The answer is no. And if you think I can tell you over the phone, then you're not ready to listen. It's okay with me. Just remember I called. Just remember that I called. Get the appointment, and if you spill on them, and I can name off a lady who's on here right now who wants to tell them everything over the telephone, and she's struggling to get her business going. Get the appointment, and we'll go from there. And next Saturday, we're going to get some great inviters. Funny part is Todd and I are not the best inviters, to be honest with you. We do meet with people, and we'll come up with things I will try to share with some things I do when I'm face to face with people. But guys, it's all about that. And we appreciate you being on Saturday morning. I mean, it's a commitment. And I'll always tell you this, I look to see who's here for a reason. And then when people tell me their business is not working, they're not working. They're not plugging in. And Todd used that word. They're not plugging in. Hopefully you got something today. Coach Palmer, Aaron, you want to end anything? I know Aaron's on a horse. I mean, I'm sitting in my office, but Aaron's out on a horse. Brent, Aaron, you want to add anything before we take off?
I will say this. This, in over a decade of being in this industry, this is the best training for somebody that wants to take their business to the next level that I have ever heard in 1 hour. And so what I would highly recommend, I'm putting it in the chats, I would highly recommend, if you want to take your business to the next level, this video, our training should become your Jim Rohn in your car, in your home, Like, you should watch this over and over and over and over again and take action on this wisdom. Guys, this was excellent. I'm sitting here with goosebumps. Like, it's unbelievable. So thank you. But it is something that I need to listen to over and over and over again to go get this. So thanks, guys.
I second that, Chris. I'll tell you what, I just out here getting ready for the kids and riding some horses and thinking the same thing. Everything that Coach just said. I'm going to get every single new person that gets started. Their job is going to be to listen, number one, to this thing 5 times. And so they can get that foundation. So thank you for doing this.
So yeah,
Everybody have a super duper blessed day. And
thank y'all for being on, guys. Next Saturday, we'll get some great inviters on. I know Coach Palmer is one of those good ones. He's a great inviter, so we're gonna get him to his take, and we'll bring some people from multiple teams.
hey, Aaron.